It's still too early in the year to see which of the songs that aren't Christmas songs will replace all of the Christmas songs that have dominated over the last couple of weeks. Interestingly enough, the only non-Christmas song that made it into the top 20 is a collaboration between Bruno Mars and Lady Gaga called, I think, I'll Die Smiling, I think, something like that. The song itself is typical of a Bruno Mars creation. Bruno Mars tends to create very upbeat, danceable music kind of songs that don't say anything. That's my assessment of Mars. Gaga actually has a pretty wide repertoire with very different kind of motivations behind her music. She's a little bit more of what I would call a varied and maybe more thoughtful artist, in the sense that she's looking to do different things with different expressions of her own music. But the song itself is pretty simple. It has a nice sentiment to it, actually. The idea is that we can't count on anything by way of a promise for the future, so let's pay attention to how we love each other, and let's hold on to that. So if we do that, we'll die with a smile. We'll die happy, because we know that we can count on that love. It's a pretty good, simple, but clear sentiment that therefore I do share. Because in this new year, you and I may think a little bit about how unpredictable our own future may be going into 2025. We have no idea what the future will hold. Who knows? Good Lord, who knows? In some ways, we may be living in some moment of real serious transition. Transition from what? Well, we can pay attention to what has gone on the last few years, the last few decades. Well, we're not quite sure, I think, where it's all going, to be honest. At least I'm not. I can't predict the future. Last time I tried, I failed. So the way is, you and I might be in this new year, on this Feast of Epiphany, listening to this proclamation of the coming liturgical year, which tells us you and I can at least count on this, that God will be present, God will be here. And can we then look around and just see who it is that we're with, whom we love, and know that we can count on that love and that presence of God. Those two things are assured of you and me for the coming year. That's no small matter, I think, anyway. The Holy Family that we hear in today's gospel, where these magi, these wise men, find these family in a time of total transition, a total crisis, really. And they even confirm their worst fears, that their very lives are in danger. So they have to flee their own homeland, seeking safety in another country that may, in fact, reject them and turn them back to the very danger they fled. To be frank, that's not an unusual situation in our very world today. There are any number of families facing those same kinds of circumstances for various reasons, just like this Holy Family. But what they know in this place where the Magi find them is that they have each other, that they can count on each other, and that love is real, and that love is also a sign of God's very presence to them, among them, with them. And these foreigners who have come to seek out what they can learn, what wisdom they can seek from this event of God in the world, they confirm that for this simple family. So I'm sure it's no small matter that these gifts that they give them, which, by the way, may be very important resources for them in their need as they become refugees, really, as they flee into another country soon enough. And it might be also a way in which they're just simply confirmed that God is with them and God is accompanying them. Do they have the whole thing figured out about God's entire plan of salvation and their child? Well, we don't know. But we do know that they have this confidence and this confirmation. It's an epiphany, so to speak. That's why we use the word epiphany, this Greek word, to talk about a realization. Very often in literature we say, the character had an epiphany, an insight, a really important insight. Well, on this epiphany, the important insight for you and for me may be exactly the kind of insights that this very vulnerable family in today's gospel experiences. That in whatever place they find themselves, they have each other. They can count on the love of each other. They can even, in this case, as we see on this Feast of Epiphany, count on maybe some help from beyond themselves, as they do from these people who come seeking them out of admiration and with help, with gifts. And then they know, too, that God can accompany them, even though they have a hard row ahead of them, a difficult chapter in their lives as they flee their own country. And so, friends, you and I might want to think about that. We don't need to think so far in advance that we're planning out how we'll die smiling. I don't think we need to do that. Because I think what this feast and this beginning of a new year calls you and me to consider is how it is that we have those two things, that epiphany of two insights, that no matter what the future holds, especially maybe this coming year of 2025 that we're now in, no matter what, we have God's very presence and we have each other. Those that we can look around to and say, yeah, we can count on each other. We can accompany each other into whatever uncertain future may be ahead of us. And those two things, my friends, are probably the richest gifts, the greatest insight, the most important epiphany that you and I will ever come to know. So let us take that with us as new gifts, new insights, our epiphany into the new year. God is here with us, and we are with each other. May the love, the gift of love among us, support one another, and maybe especially those in great need in this coming year. Amen.